So in the final stages of our sessions, what we are doing is here, just let me remove this to somewhere else. Let's see. So what we're trying to do is we are trying to learn the final thing, that is Selenium, right? So we have already in the last session we have seen how to scrape form driven pages, and we did an exercise on the PXI website itself where we took out data for 3 days and saved it in 3 different sheets of an Excel file, right? And we did a small data manipulation stuff also, right? So what we were left with was to learn how to scrape the websites which are interaction driven, right? So, I mean, after this, what we did, we also learned how to get data from APIs, and we saw that from our own dashboard, how can we get data? Okay, so I mean, it was difficult from the other ways that we saw using, this form driven pages kind of thing, right? Because there was nothing in the source. So we saw that in the network there was some request going to the API that is bringing the data into the platform, the dashboard. Okay, so and that API we requested and consumed and extracted out the demand data from it and saved it into a file, right? So let me just start Google Colab again, because we will do in here only, right, today also, because everything is there. So it's better, right? For small scripts, it's really good. But when you're writing very long scripts, right, then it is not so good, because then what happens is that you have to run every cell. And let's say I mean, you left it in middle, right? And you closed it. Okay. So next time when you'll come, you'll have to run all of those steps again one by one, right? And that can be a problem. Okay. So one of the previous sessions, let me open a new notebook. So today will be mostly hands-on, right? What we will try to do is scrape a website, scrape one or two websites today, right? So firstly, I'll just name it as Mission Shopping Selenium. Okay, so today we will discuss about that, and just let me give you a refresher, because it would allow you to make sense of what we're trying to do. Let me go to PXIL again, and let me show you what we were doing last time, right? Very simply, we were just expecting some network requests, right? And through the form, let it load at once, taking some time. So it took a lot of time here. What it shows, basically graph showing how much time it is taking for every of these ones. Anyway, so here we have some data, but if I just press a submit, I will see that one more request will be sent at the last, and this one will be the one which I have to inspect. It will be a post request where some form parameters will be there, right? And I'll just again remove this to here. Right? So yeah. So yeah, we saw that the server on the first, I mean, then we are sending a request, sends us back with some response headers, and then those in the next request, those request headers can be sent. And then we saw that how form data is encoded into a post request using a request module, right? But request module we also saw is only capable of doing things where you have some source, right? If I check the page source and just check it once. So it basically asks for form data, but you don't have form data anyway. Let's see. So just giving a brief refresher of what we discussed in last session, so that we can appreciate uh, the things that Selenium provides. And basically it allows you to scrape almost all the websites that are available on the web, right? They can be 50 years old, or I mean, they can be very latest websites. So here we can see there is some data, right? 31st, okay. So this data is in the page source, and we discussed that if the page source, then it is fine. We can always parse the web page source very easy, right? But if we have a site like this, where we see the page source and there is no data inside the page source. In fact, there might be some data in these all of these chunk files or different stuff, right? But it would be very cumbersome if I see I cannot read this and extract data out of it, right? So I mean, for such kind of websites, what we do, we generally can you employ a strategy and use Selenium, right? Obviously, we saw that this website it uses some APIs, right? So I mean, since I knew that it uses an API and it's expected in network request, I directly sent a request to that API, and then it was a big JSON blob which I converted into my Python dictionary, right? And from that dictionary, I could do whatever I could, I wanted, right? So uh, I mean that's what we're gonna do today, right? We have already bypassed this and we know how to do such kind of sites. Today we will learn how to do such kind of sites. In fact, let me show you a better example. I mean, not better, but one more example. IEX. It's not very great example, but it also is a site which uh, is not scrapable easily, right? I mean, we will just see why it is not easily scrapable. We just open this one, right? And layered and area prices. But when we'll do this, first time, obviously, um, let it open once. And the request we need. At 404, it says it always. So we'll just wait because the site is a bit slow, right? But what it does is it ultimately sends a request, which is a get request, right? It's just first time which on which the site we are coming, right? So it's a normal get request just to fetch this resource and display it here, right? So by default, the default resource is 31st date, right? But you have some functionality here where it says that you can select a delivery period or something like that, right? So basically, when you say, let's say yesterday, right? Yesterday is fine, tomorrow is fine, but as you say select range, you have two more inputs coming here, right? So basically these two inputs will not be coming or will not be sent here until you select this range and something happens. This is a manual thing, right? This is basically a JavaScript triggered uh, something, right? JavaScript triggered task, which basically created two more inputs here, and then you could select it, right? But you will have to do something like this. You cannot send those parameters as a request, even if you want to evaluate, and you could know that, when I select range and said that, let's say, let's some other day, 20th to 20th, right? I hope it is visible. Let me just do it here. Anyway, so 20th to 20th, where it is 20th. Okay. When I do something like this and then I press update report, right? Let me just clear it once. Update report. What happens is that one more request is sent, but now this time this should be a post request. Let's wait until it comes. So ultimately we saw that it sent a post request with some form parameters, right? We can see that there is some request headers, then there is some form data. And we can see that the form data has this event target, event argument, blah, 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 lot of stuff, right? And then a lot more stuff. And then it's stupid, right? Just for, I mean, for taking four inputs, it sends like a plethora of inputs as a form data to the server, right? And then based on that, it brings the final data which is displayed here of 20th, right? So to bring another resource, right, it posted a request based on the form parameters. But what we can see is that even though those form parameters are very straightforward, right? In here, what would happen is that, I mean, we will see that. But what happens is that the form parameters are straightforward. Even in, this one, we saw that the form parameters are straightforward. But here we can see that, I mean, it's sending so much of junk data. I mean, obviously, this would need to, I mean, it would be finding the resource based on that. But I mean, I will have to track each one of them, right? And tomorrow, if they feel like adding one more, right here, I mean, some stupid something. Obviously, it's not stupid because area list is going there, but I don't want to track these many form parameters using my request module, right? And further, I have this something called event validation and all of these stuff, you know. So uh, I don't want to basically make use the request module and send a normal request as form parameters of all these, and then do my rest of the stuff, which is parsing, right? So what I want to do, I want to use something which can automate the process that I am doing manually. So let's say me as a normal user comes to this website, right? Comes to this website, and then it's very slow actually. Anyway, so we come here and then I select a range, right? A range, and then I click this particular one, in which I click this particular date, and then I click here, and then I click here, and then I click here, right? All of these 5 steps, if a step could do, if it could automate it, right? Then the page which I am on, it will whatever source it will have, basically the DOM it will have when I check this. I think I've already told you that DOM is kind of a real-time source, right? Not exactly, but I mean, you could always remember it like that, that whenever what you are seeing right now on the page is your DOM, right? So here I can see, if I, in fact, I had to show you, we'll just come here once. If I had to show you, let me just change this to yesterday, and then I will see that my display has gone none. Basically, those elements have now been not displayed. If I again do a select range, it says display block. What it basically means that now displayed, right? So basically, this selection is doing something, right? And this is my real-time source, right? Currently, what my page has is all this, right? Instead of when it had, this. Obviously, still it has, because the JavaScript they have applied is not so great. What they should have done is, when the display is none, all of this should be removed from the source itself. But it's still there. That is why it's their own implementation. What our takeaway from here is that we we can do some stuff, and then the things are there. We have to just, you can see that there is some JavaScript also, right? So what we have to do is just fill these parameters, and then just press this update button, right? And then my data will be in my DOM, okay? And then I can pass the DOM, extract these elements, right? Should be easy. So that is what we want to do today. So where is my this one, right? So we'll start, and uh, okay. So there is one issue with this, right? I forgot to tell you. The thing is that we want to use Selenium with a WebDriver, right? So I'll just come to these concepts, but basically the thing is that we will not be coding it in Google Colab, right? We will have to code it in our own text editor. So I hope everyone has installed Python installed on their machines, right? What I was thinking that we could do it here, but actually I will have to show you that exactly how it works in a web browser, right? So from here it could not be triggered. That is why we are going back to our Sublime text. Okay? So just save this script, and I can just say Selenium, right? Selenium, and inside this I will just save it as my IEX ixpaper.py. Okay. So this is my starting point. Okay. So what happens is that, me as a normal user, what do I do whenever I want to see some data on a website is that I open my browser, right? And then I request that link, basically type that link in the browser, just if I had to. I open this like this, then I go here, open a new tab, type something, google.com, and then wait for the response to come, right? And then google.com appears on my web page. I think my website, my connection might be a bit slow. That's okay. But Google is finally, brings that website. And this is what I do, right? In any interaction I do, it is this way. The same thing I will be doing. So what do I need? Let's say I wanted to do it using Python, right? what I would need is a web browser, right? I would need Python to open this web browser and then open a new tab and then type google.com, press enter and wait for the page to appear. This is exactly what I would want my Python program to do, right? So that is what we will see, that all of these interactions that I do myself, how can I ask Python to do it, right? That's I think all we have to do, and that would be it. So uh, let's start only. I mean, just give me one second. So I'll just close this because we'll not be using this, right? And so if I had to do this, so before even that, I think in first lecture, in our very first session, there was one of the prerequisites that we wanted was Chrome WebDriver, right? Chrome WebDriver. So what it basically means is that you can ask your browser, to be automated using this Chrome driver, right? So Python and Chrome driver will be integrated with each other, right? And then Python can ask Chrome driver to open Chrome and do something on its behalf, right? And that is why we need Chrome driver, right? So here we come, downloads, right? And then in the downloads, what we do is that from here, I check help and then about Google Chrome, right? In this, what it says, it gives me some version, right? Mine is not up to date, but it still gives me some version, right? 84.0. So I have to only see this 84, right? And then I have to come here and see that which of the version I'm using, and then download the Chrome driver accordingly. Okay. After you download it, since I've already downloaded it, I'll show you that after you've downloaded it, documents and other stuff, might be somewhere. Right, something like this you will have, and inside that you will have this executable called Chrome driver, and you don't have to separately run it. You have to just specify the path to Python that here this particular path my Chrome driver exists, right? Or you can add this into environment variables and this can be globally located by Python. That's another way. But anyway, you have to just specify the path to Python and then it will be able to do all of the stuff that it wants. Okay. So let me. So I hope until here it is clear to everyone, right? Let us now use this. Okay? That's all we have to do. I think all of the pages we've already discussed. Okay? So now, if I wanted to, so I mean, let us first import the necessary modules, because those will be the ones which we'll be using throughout, right? And let me see if I can I'll just make it a bit bigger and try to change my color scheme as well, right? So my color scheme, I hope now it is visible to everyone. If I type something, it is also visible. So I mean, it would not look like code, but I think it would be better visible because it is brighter, right? So anyway, let's start. So let us start importing our modules. So what we know by heart that so that I need Selenium, right? So I will say that import Selenium. And then I can do other stuff. I can ask for import other modules. What other modules do we need? I don't think we need any other module. Yeah. One more thing we need is CSV, let's say. And rest, whatever we will need, we will come to that as we will proceed. Because I mean, obviously, you have to prepare a mind plan that how you want to proceed and take this problem. So some of the stuff can come later on. That is fine, right? So right. So what we will do is that we have already imported Selenium, but there are other stuff to import from Selenium, right? And since we have already seen that we do something like this from Selenium, import WebDriver, right? what we have not seen is that when you do something like this, instead what you could also do was something like this. Right? From Selenium to import Selenium.webdriver. This particular statement and this particular statement means the same thing, right? I mean, if you had more stuff to take out from WebDriver, so let's say WebDriver itself was some class, you could not say import, something else. Then it would be an issue, right? But if you wanted to import something from here, from Selenium WebDriver, import something else, right? Import, let's say something, right? Now this would not cause any problem because now you want to get something from a particular place, right? And if you already use this, then you would not be able to do something like this. So basically, both of them are some kind of syntax that you can use. But let's proceed. So what I want, first of all, I want Selenium.webdriver. So I'll just say import Selenium.webdriver, right? And to check if I have it, I'll just run it in my interpreter once to check if it actually is there, right? So I'll just press it enter here, and then it ran without giving me any errors. So basically, Selenium is properly installed in my machine. So that's fine, great. So, but there are other stuff. I'll just place it here. CSV is the one because I would like to export it later. But before that, if I import my WebDriver, and then there are other stuff, right? Then there are other stuff inside of Selenium that allows us to do other kind of tasks that we may want. Okay, so let's say import Selenium. In fact, from Selenium. Now I want to get particular stuff, right? From Selenium dot WebDriver dot common dot common dot by, right? So there is some I mean in this inside this there is this class WebDriver, and then there is this common, and then there is this by, and from that I want to import one function called by, because I might use this, right? I'll show you how I would use this, but there is one function. Okay? Then I want one more from Selenium dot WebDriver dot support dot UI import select. So why I've imported this select is because in the Selenium WebDriver, it gives me something called select, which allows me to interact using something called a drop down, right? Select. This is basically, if I inspect it, it's basically like a select element, right? So that is why I'm importing my select here, so that I can probably do something on that, right? So that's it, I guess. One more thing I would need is to specify some options, right? So but that is for later, right? And that's it. One more thing I need is that from bs4 import beautiful soup, right? That's all for now. So the next thing that we will do is that we will have to define my data URL, right? The URL on which the data exists, right? So I've created a variable data URL, and then I will just paste my string here, right? This particular link, I have to come here and then do something, right? So let me just do this. So I'm here, right? And I think that's all. What next thing I can define is my WebDriver. So this is a particular variable that I'm defining, which will hold the object to, which will basically traverse, open Chrome, or go to this URL, find something in this page, right? So all of that stuff, this particular variable will be doing. And how do we define this? We say Selenium dot WebDriver, right? Dot Chrome, right? So Chrome, right? What I'm saying is that from Selenium, inside there it's a class called Chrome, and when you call this particular method, what it says that if there is Chrome driver already there in the environment variables, right? So if I already given my path of Chrome driver in environment variables, I just need to do this, or otherwise what I need to say is that I need to specify an executable path, right? And you will just specify this folder here, right? But I will not do it because I mean I've already done it in my web browser. In fact, if I had to show you this, I'll just open my command line once and then open my interpreter and show you that Python that you know this particular thing would work. Obviously, I've not imported my Selenium, so I'll just import it. Selenium.web driver, and then I'll just see. What this says, you can see that it worked and a Chrome window opened, right? And what it says that Chrome is being controlled by our automated test software. Obviously, nothing happened because I didn't ask it to do anything else. All I did was I defined a WebDriver class and it opened a Chrome instance, right? It opened a Chrome window and assigned it into this variable. Now, this variable can do a lot of things, right? So we'll see. Just 1 second. Chandan is calling me. I'll just take his call, right? Yeah, it was just regarding some data, right? Anyway, so let's proceed. So all I have just shown you till now is that we have created a whatever, like a name to hold this, and it opened up. What I can do next is that so this is my particular object which will do whatever I want, right? Next thing I can do is that I can say web. In fact, I can say with web driver as driver, right? I will say that driver dot get, right, and then I can say data URL. So first time always I go to any website, right? I always put a get request. Why I did something like this was because I wanted my scope of this web driver to be inside this particular line only. So that I mean, if I do after something after this, I can it does not contain this web driver. Anyway, you could directly use webdriver.get also. That would be fine. But this is a better way to do it, right? So you will always do it something like this. Okay. So if I just run this much, okay, and do nothing else, let's see what happens. I'll just close this, automated test software wala tab, right, window, and then I will just try to run it again. Okay. Just, so exit and then cd documents slash word slash what was it, Selenium, right? And then I would say Python IX. Right? So now what happens in these line of statements that those get executed, and what we can see that a browser window opened, and then it basically is asked, we're looking for this resource. You can see here ixindia.com, and then it actually opened that URL, right? So look how easy it was for me to open a window and then go to that URL. Right? What is left for me to do? Very simple stuff. I mean, not simple, but very less stuff now I have to do. And then it closed, right? Because I mean, I did not have to explicitly say driver dot close, So there is one method called driver.close, which actually would finally close the window. When I first did this, right, webdriver.chrome, right, what happened was a Chrome window opened and did not close itself, right. What giving it a scope does is it also asks it to close itself. Obviously, it would be, I mean, you would always want to close that browser which is automatically open, right? You would not, keep it always open, right? So that is why you do something like this. Anyway, so we've already seen that it opened, and now what we have to do is somehow first go to the select range, right? And then choose these two and then click update to get the date that I want. So let's say I wanted to get for 28 itself, right? So here I can see that I will have to somehow execute some JavaScript because it says on change, it runs something, right? I think I have shown you this in one of the lectures that on change or something else on submit, something happens, right? And this show hide data range 1 is the JavaScript which runs after this. So you can see that I think there should be some JavaScript here. There is some JavaScript which is basically runs, and then there might be more JavaScript here, right here. Okay, so here it has something. Okay, validate all of these stuff. So ultimately one of these run. So ultimately some JavaScript runs so that the next of these things happen, right? And we have to evaluate the same thing, somehow run that JavaScript so that my thing happens, right? Let's say it was by default yesterday, right? What I could have done. Okay, see it here, what I'm trying to do. Okay, first thing is I see that it is an inspect. I will see that if it has an ID. So basically, if it has an ID, it will be a unique element. I can just try to search it once. I can say where or whatever, where of let's say my delivery period select, del select. Okay, so I'll say uh, how do I do it? I say document dot find get element by ID, right? This is what I do, and then I pass in my this one, right? An identifier which is an ID here, right? And then my del select element should be this one. Now if I hover over here, it says that yeah, I can recognize my element, right? So my del select is now my element. Okay, so after this the next step would be what, that somehow I can change the value of this to SR, the select range, right? So there are ways to do it, right? I could say that del select dot value, right? So there is one method called value which changes the value, and I can say select range, right? That is what was there. Okay, this was there. If I do it, I see that okay, nothing happened here. Okay, nothing happened here. So even though I was trying to execute some JavaScript, right, nothing happened here. But let me show you something else, right? In one of those sites here, if I had to show you this here, inspect, and inspect what, it has no unique identifier, right? But it has it is a input of type date. Okay, and then something else. Okay, so if I wanted to do something, copy selector, I would have done, I'll just clear it, document dot query selector, right? Query selector all, and then inside I would have just pasted that query selector, right? And then I would just assign it to one of those elements. Let's say first date, right? First date. So this one, and then I could say first date dot first date 0 dot value equal to let's say what the value is like, yeah, value equal to 2020 and then 08 and then 29. What you would see is that it actually changed to 29. So I had some capability to do my JavaScript and change those values. But what happened here in IX, that even though I did the same thing here to select that, here also that it's the same thing. No? I have to do some date checker. but this thing worked here, but it does not work here. Okay, so why does it not work? Okay, I am very confused. So anyway, what happens is that the it's a implementation way, right? How they have implemented that until and unless you manually select this particular thing and a click has happened on select range, it will not come, right? Even if the value was the same. Okay. Obviously, it seems like dash select range or then dash. So let's try that as well. Okay. If we had some confusion, maybe we did something wrong. This is it, right? This is what is there. But even if I do it, again, nothing happens because what this site wants me to do is actually click this, actually come here and actually click this. So I have to do this thing only to get this. But here I could see that I could actually perform some JavaScript to change those values, right? So these are the difference between these two. Okay. That, I mean, one more difference, not that, I mean, this is the only difference. There are more, but that's okay. Okay. So now what we have to do, we have to somehow do that. Okay. So how I can do that? I have to actually, when we see something like this on change, right? Uh, I think we have discussed this, that there are some events on change, on submit, no, on hover, let's say, or on click, right? So all of those are events, right? So what it says that until you change this, right, you will not be able to do something. You will have to actually do on change. You will have to run this function to be able to get this, right? And that's what exactly we will do. How we will do? We will say again, this particular thing is fine with us, right? So that we have already defined, right? And the next thing we can say is that uh, my, I mean, this particular thing, okay, del select, del select was fine, right? And if I see here in the my network thing, right? If I just update this report once, I can see that the actual value which is there on the backend for this particular delivery period is let's see. This, I mean, just bear with this because it might be confusing right now, but it will be clear. Just bear with this. Here it says that, okay, there is something called update report, right? And then all of that is on. But here we can see that there's something called DDL period, which belongs to this. And for select range, it passes SR. Let's say I selected yesterday and then press submit. How I did know this? Because I have experience and I have properly inspected the headers of the site, so I know what exactly to set. But I expected yesterday, what happened that the same editor did where it was uh, you know, that takes every period minus one. It became yesterday minus one, even though this was yesterday, it became minus one, right? So I mean, somehow I will have to set these ones as values. Okay, so that is what I do. Right? So my DAS is fine, but my value should be equal to what SR, right? SR was there. So even doing that does not does not so I just go again and do the same. So I could just copy it and also like save and this one. So I would not want to assign it to a variable, but directly want to just do it here only and just say value equal to SR, right? SR. But again, this time something happened and the value changed, but I cannot see those two dates coming yet, right? So you see how complex this site is, that even though if you're applying some JavaScript, it's not changing, right? It's very not simple. So what you'll have to do is again do some more interaction. You will actually have to do this on change from the JavaScript so that this actually the interaction goes successfully. Let's see what I do, what I can do, right? So I can see that I can just create an event obviously this is JavaScript code, and uh, I know this it would not make sense, but let me tell you that these codes, whatever lines of codes I will write, will stay exactly the same for all the sites that you will ever see, right? So if a site, so for example here, I did something like this, right? So for a simple site, this happened, right? So I mean, you could do it, but for a complex site, something like that did not happen. So you had to create an event, right? So I mean, you will try either of two things, right? Either this one or this one, right? And when you will see that even, by setting the value, the event, does not happen, or something that I want does not happen, then you have to create the event that I try to create. And it will always be similar, right? I mean, it will always be this particular event itself if you're working with drop downs. What happens is that sometimes, at many times, there are sites when you will select something, one more drop down will appear, and then you select something, and then one more drop down will appear. So for such kind of websites, you will have to create this event, right? Because on change they do something, right? And you have to create that event. Okay. So I'll just say document dot create events, right? Event, okay. And I'll just ask this event. I'll just say UI events, right? So basically there is something called UI event. Again, no need to get into that much. But what I can say now that event dot init UI event. So I want to initiate event, and then here I say change, right? So basically I'm asking it to look for this change event, right? So whenever my SR changes, basically whenever I do something like this here, you have to initiate this event after that, right? That's what I'm writing. And then I can just pass one more parameter called true. So it basically is one more parameter, no need to understand, and one more parameter called true, right? So that's it. Okay. So this is my event that I wanted to create, right? And then what I would do is again the same thing. Okay. What I would do is I would get this element here from here to here. This was my element. And then what I would do is dot dispatch event, right? So I will dispatch the event that I have created here. Okay. This event. So I will just say event, right? And then that's it. True. When I said true, you see here these things have. I'll just remove it here. Basically, you see that these things have finally happened. Okay. Let me just copy all of these and show you again what I have done. I'll just copy it here somewhere. Okay. And I'll just let's say I'll put a comment here that I have found my JavaScript that did what I wanted. Okay. So I'll just do something like this. In fact, I'll not show you how to do multi-line comments. Uh, uh, Actually, not like this. This is the way it is done. So I'll just paste it here and do my word wrap. Right. So this is the JavaScript that I identified, which actually did my thing. Okay. So I'll just remove it here, right, and then remove the outputs that were given by the console. Okay. This is all, right? This was all that did my thing. So I'll just copy it again and show you with running all of those four together how it does, right? So first time I come here, let's wait until it loads once. Okay, now so everything is in default state. I'll just paste my code here and press enter. See, those things happen, right? What I wanted actually happened. Make sense to everyone? Hello, can you hear me? Yeah, that's hello. आवाज आ रही है? Can someone confirm? Hello, 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 Dave. You there?
Hello?
Speaker. हाँ, आवाज आ रही है? मैं बोल रहा हूँ.
It's proper.
Okay, maybe there is some issue. Okay, great. Then I think I'll continue. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. So the next thing I'll have to do now, I've done this, right? Let me again do the same things for these, right? Here also some JavaScript is happening, and this time it says, on click, do something, right? Let's see and try that if it also is able to, do the same kind of things. Okay. So I'll just remove all of these ones here because I'm not trying to first dispatch an event, but I will try to do it using my normal method. Okay, so I'll just paste it here, and then I can just say that the value is 29/08/2020, right? Something like this. So it actually did it. Okay, 29, right? And then for the next one, right? So this is from date, and similarly there would be a to date, right? To date, uh, to date where it is this one, right? And then I can do the same thing with to date, right? 29, click, and then all I have to do now that I have to somehow click this, right? Here I did not have to emit my event, right? I did not have to dispatch my event because I mean me uh, me setting a value to this did not need something else, right? I mean, me setting a value here did not depend on something else. Basically, it did not depend on if this will be available or not. It was not like only if I fill this and dispatch an event, this thing will occur, right? So I directly just given it some values, right? And the last thing I can do is just click this button, right? So somehow I can here also uh, it has no ID, right? It has ID, okay? So I'll just copy it here, console, right? And document dot, get element by ID, right? Similar stuff, get element by ID. But this time what I can do is that I can do dot click. Okay. So all of this, even if it doesn't make sense, just, understand that this is how we will do for any kind of site. What we did was for every element which is clickable, we have this attribute called click, and that is why we are doing this click. So anyway, let me just copy all of these ones because we will use. So ultimately this is all of my steps: first step, second step, third step, I mean first second step here, third step, and fourth step, and fifth step, right? All of those steps. So I've copied it and I'll just place it here once. So I'll just remove my outputs. Okay, this is all the JavaScript that I needed to do all of that stuff. One more thing is left, is click, right? So I'll just copy this one as well and paste it here so that I can use it. Now you see, if I just press this and see what happens, the page reloads, right? And then I have selected 29, so the date that should come should be of 29, right? So yeah, it is 29. So you can see that if I put it in default state again, right? But I have some script, a code that I could write to automate all of that user interaction, right? So I wrote that code, okay, and then I will try it here once more at the final time. So it is in default state. I'll just paste it here. I'll just click, and you can see that everything has happened in front of you, right? This JavaScript was able to change the code and reload the page. And now from default state, I have data of my 29 page. So Selenium is not so straightforward. You also have to learn a bit of JavaScript to actually do pages which require user interaction, right? So it's not very straightforward, and Selenium alone, I mean Python alone, cannot do it, right? You will need some JavaScript, right? So what I can do next is that I have a function called driver dot execute script, right? So what this function does is basically executes some scripts, and whatever you will write in between these. Uh, um, so there is some issue. The issue is that here I'm starting with single quote, and then there is single quote found here. So I'll just replace it to double quotes so that there is no issue here. And then here also. So wherever I am using a different kind of this thing, I will have to change it here also. Because I'm starting with single quotes, so in between there should be no single quotes, or otherwise the string will end there, right? So here also there might be some issue. I'll just place it here, and here I can just bring it all in one line, because abhi what is happening is that it is not all in one line. Okay, so I'll just place it here again, and then come here, and then come here. So I brought it all under one, comment. Here again I have some issues, so I'll just change it here. So what my command that is written in JavaScript should go as a string here, right? It should not go as something which is, which breaks my code, right? And otherwise it could have broken my code. Okay, so I did something like this. So in fact, what you could do, you could break it into several events, right? So you could bring this part outside and do one more execute script, but that's okay. That is all we have to do. So either we do it in one execute script, or we do all of these single lines in multiple execute scripts. That would bring you the same results, right? So we first, what we did, we strategized. We came here, we somehow wrote that JavaScript that we could execute on this page, right, to get my data. And then the rest of the process will follow same. It will be normally my response parsing, right? Because right now, if this page has come, then my data has already come in my DOM, right? So I can parse this DOM and extract the elements that I want. All right. So we'll just do that only. Okay. So how to do that? Um, Yeah, in fact, let's first see what this particular thing does, if it is actually able to do what we wanted or not. So if I just run this again, I just sit back and see that window opened, it went to that particular page, right? And then it's waiting, it changed the dates, right? And it reloaded the page, and then it reloaded the page, and then it closed, because I have not asked. If I let me just do it like this, because you know then it would make sense to you as well. So let's say I did not use this and directly use this, then it will not close. Okay, let me just run it. This time it will not close itself, because I have removed that WebDriver reference as driver reference and directly using the object to make the request. So these are again some Python concepts. It will come as you practice it more. So now it's reloading, right? And now it did not close even though the script closed. Script fully extracted, and here I can say I have data. It's all I have to do is somehow get this into my beautiful soup, and then I can parse it, right? Easy enough. So let's do that only, and I'll just bring it back into the original form, because you see that then I don't need to manage my browser separately. Yeah, otherwise I will have to come here and close it myself, and then it's just stupid, and I don't need to do that. So anyway, next step would be what is to somehow find the body element. So I have executed this script, and if somehow I find this body element, right, that is my all the code, right? That is all the HTML that I want to parse. Okay. So first thing that I will have to do is I will have to say that in the driver, find an element by tag name. Okay, tag name. And what tag name? Body, right? I want to find the body, and then get attribute, get attribute, get attribute of inner HTML. Again, I have already told you this inner HTML is basically whatever is inside of this body is the inner HTML of body. whatever is inside of this div is the inner HTML of this div. Whatever inside is of this form is the inner HTML of this form. So we want to get all of this one. So that is why we want to get inner HTML, and I'll just assign it to my body. So that is my body, right? So, and then what I can do, since I've already imported my beautiful soup module, what I can do is that I can say that my soup is equal to body, in fact, beautiful soup, and then I will pass my body, right? And then simply say LXML, or I was using LXML then, right? So this we have already seen that we passed one more parser here, right? Anyway, so that's it, right? Now, if I just want to print it and see what my data brings, right? Then I should be okay. Right? So even if it closes the browser, I will still be able to see what it actually brought, right? So let me just run it once more. So it did all of good stuff, and then uh, took out the exact DOM, right? It will take out the exact DOM and then it will print it, right? So this particular thing, basically dot get attribute, gets to the DOM, your real-time source of the web page, okay? And then you can see that it printed out something, okay? And then whatever it printed out, it must be having some kind of data inside it, okay? If I just quickly see that, I'll just bring it more above here, and here I can see that there was some table, and in that I have prices, right? I have prices. Okay, so I was actually able to get my data for the date I wanted, right? So here I can verify that my whatever I have written works, the way I want to work, make it work. Okay, so that is it, right? That's all, I guess. So what I have to do next? Only I have to parse it, and to parse it, I have again the same set of rules, or not hard and fast, but those are ways to do it, right? How you would parse your data. You would basically inspect your elements and see exactly where your data lies so that you can extract it. So what I will do, I will inspect it. I will see that this particular thing lies in some table which has some ID, right? Which has some ID called PP6DE, blah, 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 right? And okay, I'll just copy it once, right? Uh, okay, but let me be sure that this ID does not change. What happens is that there are some websites which would even change these IDs, even though if they are dynamic, if you somehow reference these IDs, they will be changed, and then you will not be able to reference the same ID. So I'll just, what I will do, I will see it here in my own one, because I already have it, right? So to verify, I can just see it here. So let me go to that table, and there is this table. I'll just go up and up and up and up and up. And at the start, so I mean, it printed actually more than what I wanted, so I could not see, right? But anyway, let me try it in another tab, right? I hope what I'm trying to explain you makes sense, because I already told that this ID is unique. So even if this ID is unique on this page, right, this ID could be changed in the next request, and that is what we will try to see now, right? If that is the case, if this ID of this table and another table that opens is same or not, okay? So I'll just come here, and this is my area price only, right? So if I just inspect this one, right, and see that the table ID, this one, and P39, you can see that the ID changes, right? This one, if I paste it here, right, and then this one, right, if I paste it here, uh, it looks like this one is 39 AE and 65 AE, right? So this is one more problem that we have encountered, that we cannot use the ID as reference, because the ID is changing every time the page loads, right? And every time the table is created, the ID will change, right? So I need to have a much better reference, right? So let's see how I can do that. I'll just copy selector and see that selector, what selector looks like, right? The selector looks like this. But I already know that this is, I mean, this is changing frequently, so I cannot use the selector, right? What I will do, I will try more things. I will try XPath, right? And see how XPath looks like. XPath. So what happens when I'm doing is that when I'm trying to copy anything, these are all the ways in which the element can be found on the page. There is a JS path, there is a selector. So you can select this element using a selector or a JS path or a X path, you know. So, I mean, these are again some concepts that you don't need to go into much depth, because these just you need to know from the top. If you don't want to get into depth, that is fine. Obviously, if you want, you can go into depth. But what it basically says is that these are the 4 ways to identify this particular element on the web page, and the most reliable way is to get the XPath, right? So if I just check my XPath, right, I can see that again it uses the ID, right? And this ID is again something that I cannot use, right? This will again change. So even my most reliable method to find my XPath, right? If I do the same thing here, right? If I just, uh, you know, um, change into, wait, I changed into a mobile way, but it's because I changed it here. Anyway, I wanted to do this. Right. So if I just see it here, that where is the table, right? It's below here, right? And if I just see this table, I can see. In fact, saw yesterday that this table has a class. I mean, it has no ID, but the class that we used to extract the table, it remained same. It was not changing, right? So the class was not dynamic. But here on this side, we can see that the class itself is dynamic, or whatever identifier that I want to use is dynamic. So I cannot use an identifier. What I will have to do is find the table itself, right? So if there are multiple tables on this page, then I can do something, right? I can probably take one of them out of it, but again I will have to identify, right? So let me just try it that way. I'll just say again I will have to do something there. So before that, I will just try a few things here to check if it actually exists. So I'll just say tables, right? Table, tables, right? And I'll just say document dot get element by tag name, right? So I'll just find that if how many tables are there on this web page. Again, this is specifically for me, right? Me as a developer who wants to develop this script and check that if how many tables are there, right? So I'll just say tables, right? And I see that, I mean, there are like 38 tables on this page, right? Obviously, not all of them are visible, but there are actually 38 pages or 38 tables on the website. And we have to find the one that is of our requirement, right? This particular one. So I'll just hover over here and see which one it is, right? Maybe one of these. I'll just, this one, not this one, maybe this one. Yeah, this one. So I can see that the 7th one, okay, at the 7th one, my table actually appears, right? And after that, none of them is actually what I, want. So this is my identifier somehow, right? This one, okay. And inside this, I have, um, where it is, inside this, I have one more table, right? Which has it, okay. So I would be able to find this one, right? Where it is. This one, right? And inside that table, right, I have to, inside the T body, I will have to find one more table, right? And then inside that, all of my data will be there, right? So I can see that if I hover over these, it shows me N2, N3, S1, S1, all of those things, right? So all of those things are there. Okay, anyway, let's proceed. But by doing this, I could find that somehow there was some ID which was there. Okay, so I'll just inspect more of them. So here I saw that the exact table that I want is actually the 33rd one. right? The 33rd table is the one I want. Okay. So here what I will do is that I will write it accordingly here. Okay. So I can say that soup dot find all, right? Find all. What find all? Table, right? That's all. And from the table I want my 33rd element because this would return me an iterable, right? So I can say data table equal to this one, and this time I can print my data table, right? So I can just say data table dot prettify because this is again a tag, so prettify will work on that. So I'll just run my script again and wait for things to happen and see that if my script has actually got the table that I am looking for. Okay. And that would be it. If I'm there, then all I have to do is now a bit of parsing because the the tough part is gone because right. So now I can see the table that I wanted is printed, right? So I don't need to worry now. Okay, all I have to do is simply just parse it. Okay, so again, same steps in parsing. The table way, I was trying to find a table, and then now I try to find the rows, right? So I'll just clear it once, and here I can see that inside of this table there is a T body, and inside of that we have some rows, right? So these ones are rows, right? So there is one big row here, and then this one which has all of those types, these values, and then there is all of these other ones. Okay, so you have to somehow get the rows and then get out the values from each of these columns, right? So in the first row there are none, but from the second row there are actually some data that we could scrape, right? So we will do that, right? So now it is very simple. In the table, I have a T body, and in that T body, I have to find TRs, right? So I'll just say data table dot find all, right? Find all, and what do I have to find? I have to find my T body, right? First, and in that T body, the 0th element will be my T body, right? And since it will again be a tag, I can do find all again, right? Find all, and then this time I want to find all my TRs. That's all. But I want to not take the 0th element, take from first one till end. So I'll do something like this. So I'll say my data rows. Right? Data rows is this. So if let's do one more step and then we will try to see what that data row looks like. Inside those data rows, I have a lot of PDs, right? So what I can do is extract text out of those PDs, right? So I can say that for uh, you know uh, for row in data rows, right? Data rows, you could say that um, so I have to get something. I have to basically create one of the uh, list to hold my data, right? So let's say I will say final data, and then here I will just say row data, right? So I will want to append my row data in my final data, right? Because for every row I will have some row data, right? So for every row I will have some row data, and I will want to finally append it into some one more data, right? So what I will say, my row data equal to currently an empty list, right? But in each row, I have a lot of TDs, right? Lot of TDs. So that is what the first step is. So for TD in row, right? What I have to do is that I have to uh, row dot find all. In fact, row dot find all. I will have to first find all the TDs, right? So this will return me an iterable, and this in iterable I can iterate, right? What I want is simply I want row data dot append td dot text, right? That is all I want, right? And then I want to, before the loop ends, I want to uh, do my row data append to the final data. So I'll say final data dot append what my row data. Okay. So this is fine now, and then ultimately I can print my row data, right? To see with my not my raw data, my final data, right? To see if my final data actually has all of those data in list of list format. So there is a list. What this is also a list, right? So a list is appended to inside a list, right? So there will be one list appended first time, there will be second list appended second time, third list, so on, right? So it will be a list of lists, right? So anyway, let's create my final data and see if it actually was able to scrape those data or not. Okay, so I'll just let's see if I have any other print statement. No, don't have any other print statement. Great. So I'll just run it. And I can see that now this time. Maybe we'll have to wait until it actually closes, right? Something. And now we can see that, oh wow, this actually got me lists of lists, right? Lists of lists uh, of all the page. Okay. So, right. And it is given me in the exact format that I want to print, right? So it should be very simple for me now. Let's do it, right? So I know for one of lot of ways in which I can export the data, but the easiest way that I know is through pandas. So I'll just say import pandas as PD, right? Pandas as PD, and then I can just do PD dot CSV. So what I can say is that I can sure print it, but what I could say is that pd dot to csv or data frame dot to csv. But to create that data frame, what I have to do is that pd dot data frame, right, and pass my final data to it, right? So this is my final data, right? But my I want I mean only from the first one, because the zeroth one I want to have the index. So I'll just say index equal to my final data of zeroth row, because my zeroth one has all the headers, right? So I'll just index it like this. And this is my data frame, so I can just say to CSV, right? And to CSV what? Let's say IEX data, right? Dot CSV. Okay. So let us run this and see if it throws error or it actually does what we want to do. Okay. So just run it, and it would again open a window. Just wait for it to do it. And then let's see what happens. Right. So it closed, and it gave some error, right? So it says that shape of past value is 96 by 18. Indices implies 16 into 18, right? So basically my index, it has only 16 columns, right? So I'll just put my manual index in. I mean, I told you last time that you could directly maybe copy this, right? So what happens is that these three rows, it's basically created only one of it, and that is why it is throwing an error, right? So what I could rather do was do some data manipulation with this one, right? So I'll just say copy. I'll just say here that headers, right? Headers equal to final data, right? Print data 0. That is fine. That is my 16 ones, right? But before that, what I can also say is that I'll just add two blanks for now, just to let this code run, because that is what it's saying, that I have only 16 rows as headers, 16 entries as headers, but here it has 18 this thing, I mean 18 ones. Okay, so I'll just see now that if this one works, and later I can do my data manipulation in the exact way that I want, but for now I will just do like this and just wait and see now if it works. Right, so again it threw some error. Because I did not, I was a bit stupid, right? I did not change my index to headers. Sorry guys, we'll have to run it again. Again, this time, uh, also it threw some error, right? So arrays dot shape, again similar kind of error is there. So I'll just not waste much time on it, and I'll just say of range of the length of my first row. In fact, the second row, right? Because my second row has correct number of data, right? So I'll just do something like this. Again, just to run it, I could spend a lot of time on manipulating my headers, but I will not want to do it in this particular example or case. So I did something like this. What I actually did, I just asked it that just create a range. In fact, it will throw some error. So this one to the length of that, right? In fact, 0 to length of that, because those many entries I want. So I'll just again run it. I hope this makes sense to everyone. Hmm. So again, we'll wait. The error comes. Uh, this is uh, this is causing some issues. Okay. Again, I don't know why, but I'll just remove this index for now, and we'll come to it. It is basically something to do with the headers, right? So let me just pop it once and do it here only. Okay. So my final print that was there, I'll just check it. That I had uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 values, only 16 marks, right? So maybe I was passing the argument wrong. Okay, so it basically wants 16 marks, right? But the shape of the pass value is 96 by 18. Okay, so that is the issue. But I will not put index and ask it to put its own indices now, because we have encountered so many errors. So would not want to waste time there. I'll just ask it to have its default indices. What I wanted was I wanted to get those headers as indices. That is why I was specifically doing that. But I hope this runs now, because all we are left with is just writing into a CSV, and only this one line is causing all the error, right? Even though this is the most simplest format, but due to some issues in headers, we are getting some errors, right? This time it did not give me any error, right? Because I asked it to choose its own index and not rely on me. But that's okay. It's because I just wanted to get it done fast, right? So here I come here and see in my Selenium module I have IX data, and if I open it, right? So if I open it, I'll wait, and then I will see that this time I have my data properly, right? So I'll just so the main issues are because of these. Here you can see that there are some issues. In fact, in some of those rows, right, my data is not even coming properly, right? So, but the point is that I have got my data, right? What is happening is that here, what it wants is to just start it from here, okay? And this is what the issue is with all of these number of rows, right? So again, this is kind of a data manipulation problem. So if we wanted to, we could obviously do it, right? but we will not do it here in this particular one. So, but you could get right that what we wanted to. The more easier way would be if you knew that your first, I mean, this one will always be date, right? What you could do is that you would remove first two TDs, right? Because your first two TDs are creating problems. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, three TDs are creating problems. So my what easier would have been that I say that take it from 2 to end, and then in my all of those final row data, what I would do is that I would say row data equal to first two entries, first three entries are not coming fine, so my first entry would be the date itself, right? So my date is again 29 8 2020. So right now I'm a hard coding. Obviously you can pass it as a parameter and make it dynamic. My second row will be what my second row here is the date. My second row is actually the date, the first row is not the date, so I'll just put it like this. Okay, my first row is like this, second row is this, and my third row is third column is my actual this one, right? And that does not give me any issues, so I only have to leave two. Okay, so I'll just leave two only, 0 and 1, right? Those two I've left. So that is all, I guess. This is my row data plus what row data. Okay, and then I can append it in my row data. So I hope it makes sense to everyone what I'm trying to do here. So if I just uh, I could do so much manipulation, but I found that I could do something like this as well, right? So I'll just print it, do those things again, and see if that works. So we'll wait and see, right? The data has come. We'll see how it looks like right now. So this time it definitely looks like better, but uh, some issues have come with respect to what I wanted to do, right? So it has repeated it so many times, right? And should not have happened this way. Okay, so that is one thing, right? But you could see that we could do so many stuff, right? Here, what has happened is that um, it basically does not do what I want to do. So I don't care, and that I can. I mean, I hope everyone understands that why this has happened, right? This particular thing happened. It happened because what I was doing is that I was adding two more uh, lists right here, and two more elements in this list, and then appending it. But because of this particular element, which was here, uh, it added that many for each row. It added the number of rows as columns. Okay, so I didn't want to do that. All of these things just went wrong, so I'll just keep it like this, right? And then at finally what I will do is that I will run it at the final step. And this time what should happen is that all of those should have only the time blocks and the data, right? So I'll just wait, right? Wait it, okay, and then I will check. This time my data should be in a format that I can recognize. Again, some issues, right? Here again, some issues are coming. Okay, so uh, hmm, hmm. So what is happening, guys, and everyone, is that here, uh, if I again go to my this one and see that here, this particular TD, is along with this particular TD which has row span of 4, right? What 4 row span means is that it will only be displayed once, but it will take place of 3, right? So here I can see that row span of 4, but it takes space of only 1, right? It is only 1 TD, but taking space of 4. So that is what is creating me an issue, right? So what I can do is that to resolve even this, I have my first row, I have my second row, right? Which is which I if I somehow make or hard code it, then it could be fine because I right now I don't want to get into those stuff. I just want to somehow scrape the exact data that I need, right? That is my thing that I want to do right now. Okay, so I would like to ignore this particular header and I would like to ignore these two as well, right? So how to ignore my header? I will just go here, right, on this table, and here I can see that if I ignore 1, 2, 3, right, 1, 2, 2 only, okay, then I would be able to do something, okay, and right, I will be able to do something, or I will have to devise some other strategy, because the thing is that at every fourth row, in fact, at every fourth row, yeah, you will have two more elements coming, right? This particular date and this particular, this particular one and this particular date, right? So we'll have to devise some of those strategies. But again, that comes into data manipulation, and that is not what I want to spend much time on. So please let me know if this has created any kind of confusion to anyone, right? Or if you want me to spend more time just to clean this, right? Because I have one more example to show. So before finishing the lecture, I would want to show that, and I hope you would be able to do data cleaning. What I have to do, you have to find all of these rows, right? All of the you do not have to change these rows. You only have to change these rows, right? Okay. I hope you will be able to do it. Right, something like this you have to do. I'll just close it. This one you have to copy here, copy and paste it here, right? And this one has nothing. Okay. This one again should be cut and pasted here, right? Pasted here, and this one should be cut and pasted here, right? So I mean, again, I hope you will be able to do it, right? If again you will have any issues, I already have this as a solved example, so you can connect with me, right? But obviously that's not with me right now, it's deployed on server, so I will share it with you, right? But you can do all kind of those data manipulations, right? So anyway, I have one more example to show you, okay? And that is also something such of this kind. So let me, I I don't know which. I think it was something like Gujarat. Uh, just give me 1 minute. I'll have to check which was it. But that's a great example, very similar to this, and that will show you the real power of what Selenium could do. I hope this does not create much confusion to everyone. What is happening is that we have now already seen that how complex IX has made their site to be able to scrape, right? In comparison of which what we are doing here, we could directly do this, and then my data was exactly in the format that I wanted to consume. But from IEX, I was able to scrape the data, but now I have to do a lot of data cleaning as well, so that it can come in the format that I want, right? So again, I mean, there are strategies, but we will not go into that because that will take a lot of time. So I hope this again did not create any confusion. Okay, so I'll just close this. I hope what you were able to get was till here, right? Till here. So this is the takeaway, that we could automate all of the stuff that we wanted through JavaScript, and then extract the data, and then finally output it into a CSV. Okay, that is all. So just give me 1 minute, one pause. Okay, I actually have it listed somewhere in my copy, so I'll just see. where it is. Actually, I'm able to find it right now. Just give me one more minute. Uh, hmm, I think, yeah. So it is actually Rajasthan SLDC, which is that side. So I'll just say sldc.rajasthan.gov, right? This one. Maybe this one. No, not this exactly. Uh, this requires some login, maybe MIS. Right. Then, uh, I'm sorry, I had actually written this in my notebook, so I have to, uh, because I had got this link from somewhere and just temporarily written it somewhere. So I want to get the implemented schedule, dispatch schedule. I hope what I'm typing is correct. But the thing is that you would see such kind of site. Yeah, right. So this is the system that I wanted to come. Right. Go back home. Uh, why is it asking for? Yeah. What to do, right? I don't have the credentials right now. It might have been somewhere with me. But that this was would have been a great example. Just give me one more minute if I can find something else. Right. Sorry for this brief break. Just give me 1 minute. Sorry, I can't find the link yet. 1 minute. Hmm. Actually, someone had given me a website to scrape, okay, and had given me links and credentials also, which was again built by this particular bulky communication technologies. You would find this particular kind of setup there in Telangana as well as Chhattisgarh, as well as Rajasthan, as well as some other states. So such kind of website, what it does is does something like this, right? And let me give me one more minute to see if I can actually find something, because that would have been really good example. Okay, that is uh, one thing. Right. So here, right here, and then just do this again, and there is nothing here, right? I don't know why. Maybe it was earlier in a way where you did not have to specify that you were logged in. But right now, I mean, it is asking me to log in, and maybe that is why there is some problem on doing this. But anyway, let's say Telangana SLDC and check if something is available right there, because I know that they also use some kind of system like this, right? Uh, so, guys, can you tell me that if whatever is discussed is clear for Selenium? Dev and Seeker? I I thought I had that link handy, but even when I typed it, this one here, that did not actually give me the link that I wanted to say, right? So that is why that issue came. But we'll just try and see. Anyway, yeah, I don't think I will be able to find that. But let's see what here. Apps.ps transco. Right, this one here is there. So, and that is it. But again, this is not it what I want to show you. So anyway, the example that I wanted to give you, it will take some time. Right? Maybe SRLDC has it. So implemented schedules. Right? So state-wise, maybe. Yeah. So um, again, schedule summary. So here also it is pretty straightforward because all of those links are listed. But again, all of these kind of sites you can do. That is not an issue right now, right? I hope that it's not an issue anymore. Full schedule XML, right? Again, some error here. So can't find, guys. Yeah, web based outage coordination. Again, some error. I don't want to go here. Okay. Just what we are doing right now is just I somehow wanted to show you one example more. Okay, and here daily, let's say daily. So daily is like this, and monthly is again like this. So it doesn't have it, yeah. It doesn't have it. They are just giving you XML itself, right? So you can again download this XML and then parse it using your Python. Okay. So I, I think that is it. I guess not able to find those reports which were there earlier. Okay. So that is monitoring forecast. Some of those links are not even working now, it seems like. But yeah, I did one of those exercises long back, and I wanted to give you relevant examples from power sector, but I think I have lost that link, and the one I just typed for Rajasthan is not working. So, but if you had to see other examples, then obviously this one, Make My Trip, is one of those examples. So Selenium is the superset of everything, right? What you could do using requests, you could also do using Selenium, because Selenium automates all of that stuff, right? So if I had to show you one more thing, something called like a Gst Scraper, right? I will just show you quickly that here also we have used Selenium, right? So what we are doing is that we are basically trying to do that search, right? What I showed you an example yesterday, where you could pass the form parameters and then you could get the result. But here what I am doing is that I am I'm using my Selenium to do the same thing, right? And it makes it more, makes it more error proof, right? Because what I do as a user, this thing will do it as a user, right? So I'll just remove this option once and show you how this works, right? So I don't have any relevant power sector examples right now, sorry, but maybe I will send you and show you one of those examples later, right? So I'll just go to Gst Scraper and say Python new Gst Scraper.py. What it will do is that it will do the exact similar stuff, right? It will open the browser, it will open the site where that thing is there, right? And it will wait for the form to appear. It will just input the form here and then it will close, right? So it will basically get the data which was available on the website otherwise, right? If I had to quickly see and open and then pass this particular thing right here and do it here, I would see that I now have something like this. Okay, this data. It only came after I pressed this button, right? So obviously this looks like a form, and there could have been something that could have been done using requests, but I did not want to do it using requests. I wanted to use Selenium to do it because I'm pretty sure that Selenium will be able to handle any kind of stuff like that. So that is why I've used Selenium here, right? And here I can see that I am even waiting for the presence of an element which is located, right? So I'm waiting for the form where gst in text is to be inputted, and then I am finding that and sending the keys, and a sending key is basically pressing enter after putting my search query like this, right? So I'm putting it there in the form box here, and then I'm pressing this button, right? So that button is here, right? So I'm selecting a button and then clicking it. Okay. So, and then I will wait until presence of the element located, right? Again, I will wait until that particular table is located, right? So this is the table which has that data, right? And then I get the attribute inner HTML. So I get the exact inner HTML attribute there, right? And then I can parse it through beautiful soup. Okay. So then again, similar kind of stuff, right? So I think that is it for Selenium. Okay, but what I feel is that probably we can take one more class on the Selenium, right? Because what say Dave and Seeker, बताओ यार, if whatever was explained today was I mean, did it make sense for you to properly grasp what Selenium could do, or we can take one more class where I will find that particular example. The power sector thing was there, you know, and then I would present you that example as well, right? So please let me know. Yeah, please go on. Batao Srikar Dev, what are your thoughts? क्या बोल रहे हो? हेलो,
हाँ
बोलो भाई लोग, क्या बोलते हो? अभी समझ में आया जितना आज समझाया सेलेनियम पे? ठीक है,
समझ तो आया है इसको थोड़ा
कुछ तो आया है तो मतलब, बट वो कुछ एनफ है कि मतलब should we devote it more time so that
टाइम का आई थिंक आई नीड टू सी मोर फ्रॉम माई सेल्फ ओनली एंड
और Srikar,
Anup,
what do you think? हाँ,
first we will practice some more examples. Then we will get to know if we got any doubts in
हाँ,
between that. We can have one more session on that.
yeah, definitely. So
Like that we can arrange.
so what we can do, right? What we can do is that let us have one more session next Saturday. Okay, a 3-hour session. And before that, by tomorrow evening, I will share an assignment with some questions, okay, which you can do
Okay.
through the rest of the week. Okay, that will give you some
Okay.
practice, and then
that would
on
be
Saturday, on Saturday, let's do it in the evening because morning it's difficult for some people, and in the evening we can discuss those examples, and there we can close. Okay.
Okay.
And probably in that lecture, I can also present that power example on Selenium that I was, trying to show you. Right? I will just find it and show you. Right? So I think that is it for today, and I hope whatever I showed you in Selenium, it made sense, and how it happens actually, how web automation happens. You did get, at least the tip of the iceberg you could, reach and touch that. So because it's all a start, because ultimately you'll have to learn JavaScript a bit as well to actually able to do all of this stuff, right? But Selenium allows you to do any kind of thing that you can do on web, because ultimately it's like you, right? You can do anything. You can go into the browser, do anything. You can exactly do the same things using Selenium and JavaScript, right? And you have the power of
Yes.
Python to manipulate it, right? So I think that should be it for today's session, and I'll just this would be the final session on all of the stuff. We have covered almost everything, but now I will share one assignment, okay, which can be done throughout the week, and on Saturday we will discuss it. Right? So that is our plan, and then that will be the final. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
ठीक है guys, फिर
And
अब हाँ बताइए.
Anup,
हाँ या
we will have one session on the walk through what you have done, no? That checklist part.
yeah definitely. So does it have to be done with everyone?
No need. We both can have one session like that.
Sure, that we can do. I mean, sure, we
Okay.
have to anyway do that, because the thing is that I was thinking that we will separately have that session, because I wanted to uh, actually give that because I had written now. I will give the detailed walkthrough of whatever scrapers I have written, right? But that detailed walkthrough would not make sense to others, right? So that is why I thought that we can do it separately and not as part of these
Okay.
sessions. Right? So I hope that is fine. You know? ठीक है. But exactly,
Okay.
Srikar, उस detailed walkthrough में I think they too will be there. They should be there, है ना? And you will be there. So what exactly do we want to see? That what all scripts are placed where and what all scripts do what, right? That's all. है ना? Rest of the
That's
stuff.
what we.
Since we have already discussed and learned so much, I don't think there would be any issues editing those scripts or making any update to those scripts. Okay. So that is what it is. Plus, you also know Django, so it is integrated with
Mm.
Django. Okay, so I think you'll be able to make sense.
Mm.
Everything actually flows through Django. So yeah, that is there. But yeah,
Mm.
then Django people would have to understand those scripts are actually integrated, so no one would be able to make any sense of it until they knew Django as well as web scraping as well as some more stuff. Right. So anyway, that is
Yes.
there.
Mm.
We have database as well there. So that is why I could not discuss in these sessions. Right. So I think that is it.
Mm.
Okay. So thank you guys for this lovely series and coming and joining every day. Dave, thank you very much. You joined and did almost all the sessions. I hope कुछ
Hmm.
फायदा तो हुआ होगा.
Mm.
Okay, hopefully. और बाकी यार, if there
हाँ.
are any issues ना, you can connect me. Okay. For Python, I am there to help because you are, I think, the only one who has attended all the sessions. So if you need any help anytime, feel free to call me or just ping me up. Okay.
Okay, okay.
So ठीक
Because
है
this
लेकिन
time
हाँ,
also there were many interruptions in between, so that 100% or even 70% attention was not there. So
हाँ, हाँ,
still
हाँ,
the things and tools which are
हाँ,
useful
हम्म,
and
हम्म,
serve the purpose. Uh,
right. Because I tried
would-
to
Anyway, we have
do it
recordings
hands on.
now.
And try to do it hands on so that people can actually at least see that how it
Hmm.
actually becomes into the real thing, right? Otherwise, if I
Uh,
just say and run the code, it would not make any sense. I've written every line of code so that it makes sense how
hmm.
things are working at the back end, right?
Yes.
So that is it. So you can always obviously do and see all of these lectures online. But still, if you need any help, I'm there, right? I'll just stop